All right, looks like we're live. I'm here with my buddy Matt Forney.
And it's Bechtloff in the morning, and here's Buzz Butherson with your Daily Sports Minute.
Get some traffic and weather. So I think the other night I read a article on Catholic priest dying of AIDS, which made me laugh so fucking hard. And I think I've found an article that makes me laugh almost as much. Now this one's getting passed around a lot more, but this is from CNN.com, fucking CNN.com, and it's by Elisa Strauss, and the article's entitled "Why Kids Love Fascist Cartoons Like Paw Patrol and Thomas the Tank Engine." She just says Thomas, but Thomas the Tank Engine and Paw Patrol have been eviscerated by the press and on social media. I don't know who the fuck is doing that. Young brains seek out order, stability, and even punishment in their entertainment. First of all, I just want to say that even as a kid, I never liked Thomas the Tank Engine because I think it looks creepy as fuck.
By the way, do you mind if I screen share this? Like, I've got the screen share up like Luke. Do you mind if I do that?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it should be working now if you can see it.
All right. Yeah. Yeah, I always thought Thomas the Tank Engine looked creepy as fuck. But that's not their problem with it. Here we go. Parents like to see themselves as purveyors of possibility. The first sentence is already wrong. We want our children to inhabit a world in which identities are both mutable and equal, and imagination and empathy reign supreme. No, I want my kid to fucking behave, is what I want my kid to do.
I want my kid to shut the fuck up and do what he's told.
Like, oh, gee. Children are born little savages, all right? This whole civilization thing, that has to be taught to them.
Yeah.
But young children, as dictated by their taste in popular culture, have something else in mind. They're drawn to worlds in which identities are fixed, order trumps imagination, and transgressors are met with routine punishment.
Did you see what she did there with the order trumps imagination? Get it, Trump?
She might have actually meant it that way and thought that was clever. The clash between what parents desire for their children and what children desire for themselves is mostly... This is this typical liberal bullshit where it's like, I'm only going to let my son play with Barbie dolls or something because my gender, it's like, I'm going to try and push water up a hill. And this woman's speaking like all parents think like this. Yeah. Like, most parents wouldn't prefer their kids to fucking behave and learn basic right from wrong at a relatively early age.
Yes.
Let's see.
So often, the more parents dislike a show, the more their children love it. Well, yeah, that's usually how it works,
But back in Christ, I sound old. Back in my day, if parents disliked the show, it's because it was kind of fucked up. You know what I mean? It was like full of toilet humor or something that kids thought was funny. Like it was probably something kids shouldn't be watching. Well, now we've reached the inverse where parents are offended by the fact that a show is teaching kids good moral values.
Oh, that is true. I was thinking more like along the lines of like Power Rangers, where some parents hated it because it teaches children that violence is an acceptable way of solving problems.
Well, I mean, if there's a big fucking monster who wants to wreck your town, I don't think you're going to talk him down.
Yeah.
Thomas, the long-running television franchise, and a group of worker trains chugging away on the island of Sorter, has been called pre-modern corporate dystopia, pre-modern corporate totalitarian dystopia. I can never pronounce that word right. In the New Yorker, imperialist and sinister in Slate. And classist, sexist, and anti-environmentalist in The Guardian.
So it's despised by 3 news media organizations that most people with children don't actually read.
Who the fuck?
Who the fuck reads The New Yorker aside from childless yuppie couples in Park Slope? Who the fuck reads The Guardian aside from childless yuppie couples in London.
I didn't know that Thomas the Tank Engine was promoting imperialism. There's apparently a lot between the lines. I wasn't catching on there.
Well, it also promotes patriarchy as well because the train kind of looks like a gigantic penis and it goes through tunnels.
Paw Patrol is equally polarizing. The show about a group of rescue dogs led by a boy named Ryder is a regular source of complaints among parents and adoration among their children. BuzzFeed, well, there's a credible source, called the show terrible. And pointed to instances of gender and social inequality. There's social inequality between a boy and dogs. Social inequality that go unchecked in the show. In The Guardian, Ryan is described as a megalomaniac with an implied unstoppable God complex. Nevertheless, Paw Patrol is ubiquitous. Branded merchandise featuring Ryder and the gang outsells most other TV shows. According to I cannot talk at all this morning. Recent data from the Licensing Industry Merchandising Association, a recent Amazon search for Paw Patrol yielded over 24,000 results. It's tempting as a parent, especially those of us who are aghast at contemporary politics, to be disturbed by the notion of our children tuning in for a regular dose of primary colored authoritarianism.
Yeah, they should be tuning into something wholesome and family friendly, like Bella and the Bulldog.
Also, I love liberals pretending like they're not, they're anti-authoritarianism. I'm sorry, but I remember the last 8 years.
Yes.
There wasn't a whole lot of live and let live. Whatever happened to be free to be you and me? Okay, I clicked on that link and it's some YouTube video of some shitty kids show from the 70s and that I had never heard of, and holy shit does it look gay. But rage as we might, these shows are a source of comfort for our young children whose id-driven brains seek out the order, stability, and even punishment in their entertainment. Yes, kids are young and stupid, and they don't know how anything works, and the world is scary and huge to them, and they like the idea that there's some moral center to it all, that there's some sense of right and wrong.
Yes. Now, how dare they look for stability in a world that's full of fucking chaos?
This was now everybody's passing this around, but this article is amazing. First of all, the way this person writes it, as if every parent is just dying to have their kid be a huge, massive faggot. I don't think that's the case. All right. I don't think a lot of parents think like you. All right. Wow. Wow, just wow, as the left likes to say.
We literally can't even.
Yeah, I literally can't even. Paw Patrol and promotes the Holocaust. It's Nazi. It's where those. Who else had the trains running on time?
You know who else liked dogs?
Jeez. If the right could pull its head out of its ass for like 5 minutes, it could annihilate the left. This one of the saving graces over the Obama tenure was the fact that the left, and him in particular, were so insanely stupid. I mean, the right likes to imagine he was Darth Vader. Really, he was Dark Helmet from Spaceballs. How the fuck is it's on CNN.com. And I like how she starts out with the assumption that you're already on board with the idea that Thomas the Tank Engine is a fascist cartoon. She doesn't even feel the need to to really explain that to you. She's more at this stage like, well, what do we do about this problem?
Well,
Like,
in her defense, it is CNN. I don't think any right wingers are really paying attention to that.
well, I don't know. I mean, I can't imagine even a lot of liberals have looked at like fucking Thomas the Tank Engine and immediately thought like, oh, this is fascism. This is this is trade nationalism right here. Oh,
At that point, you're basically it's pareidolia taken to a ridiculous extreme. You're living in fear of right wing Republican fascists coming to murder you in your sleep, which a lot of these people probably are.
And basically, at that point, you're arguing that any kind of sense of order, any kind of functional fucking society is fascism to these people. See, somebody in the chat says kids crave order. Well, since fathers are run out of the house, I doubt they would seek cartoons about order and stability. I don't doubt they should seek cartoons about order and stability. This article is just a woman putting on display exactly why she is a shit mother who should be sterilized.
No arguments there.
Let's see. Somebody in the chat says, I'm dying to have my kids be a faggot, but of course I'm in the alt-right after all. Let's see. You'd almost think kids want real men for fathers. This is a lot like when I was a kid and people complained about the fact that boys like to watch cartoons where good guys beat up bad guys. It's like, yeah, they want to believe there's some sort of moral order to the universe. That, you know, this is a bad dude, he's doing bad things, and somebody needs to put a boot in his ass. So the other news here in the last couple of days, I think it was just yesterday, got passed. The tax bill got passed, and Trump signed it in. Now, on a personal level, I think this will affect me quite well because the Obamacare mandate got repealed.
Yeah, that's the most important thing people need to remember. They abolished the individual mandate, which means, for all intents and purposes, Obamacare is dead. Like, let me give you. You mind if I give a quick explainer of this to people who may not get it?
Oh, go ahead.
Basically, the individual mandate is the provision in Obamacare that requires everyone to purchase health care. It is the reason why Obamacare functions as it is, because Obamacare is basically just a subsidy from healthy young people to sick and older people. The sick and older people get lower insurance premiums because people like us, me and Bechtloff, are forced to get health care even though we don't need it because we're young and in shape and we take care of ourselves and we don't have any chronic pre-existing conditions. So abolishing the individual mandate means that the healthy people are going to drop Obamacare because they're going to get rid of their health insurance plans because they don't need them anymore. Additionally, at the same time of Trump passed his tax reform bill, he also passed a bunch of executive orders that basically undid all of the bullshit that was associated with Obamacare. For example, you can now purchase health care across state lines again. You don't have to rely on these dumbass exchanges. So basically, what's going to happen is that all the healthy people are going to get rid of their Obamacare insurance plans. That will cause premiums to skyrocket, and that means all the sick and infirm people are going to quit it as well. Oh, yeah, and you will no longer be penalized, obviously, for not having health care on your taxes. This is a massive win for us. Massive, massive win.
Well, it's a personal win for me because, I mean, I haven't had health insurance for most of the year. I haven't had health insurance since I was laid off from my last major job. And because, I mean, I couldn't afford it. I was living off unemployment, you know, and then I had a part-time job that wasn't giving me enough hours. I just simply couldn't afford it. I was about to be penalized for not buying something I neither needed nor could afford. And this saved me from that, and I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, I've been penalized on my taxes 2 years in a row for not having health care, even though When I moved to Chicago a couple of years ago, when I was still living there, I literally could not get health care. I tried. There was like a period of about a month after I moved there where I got really sick and was actually looking into getting a health insurance plan. But the Illinois Healthcare Exchange website was so broken, it literally kept leading me around in circles. Like, what were they expecting me to do? Like, call them up or go into a hospital or something and sign up that way? I could not obtain health care navigating their Byzantine broken system, and I got penalized for it. I don't have to file taxes anymore because I live abroad, but if I was still living in the States, I would be saving so much money right now because of this bill.
Yeah, a lot of people are gonna. There's a lot of people who have been gaslit into thinking that this is a tax cut for the rich only and all that stupid shit. No, this is a tax cut for basically everybody. Now, one of the people that will get a little fucked on their taxes, and this is kind of interesting, and I don't know if this got put into the final bill. I will have to look into this, but as I understand it, they were going to undo, as it stood before, you could write off your local and state taxes in your federal taxes. So basically, what that ended up being was a federal subsidy for states with stupidly high taxes.
Yes.
That's going bye-byes, as I understand it.
Well, they had to soften that up. They aren't eliminating it entirely. They're just slashing the size of it. The original bill would have eliminated it entirely. It is helpful, and this is a big deal because again, like you said, Bechtloff, people who live in high tax states like New York and California are basically having the burden of their taxation shifted to the rest of the country. I believe entirely that blue states should be punished economically for under the tax code because they're not just because of the high taxes, but because the economies in these states are based entirely on financial graft and speculation. Like what does New York provide for the country? New York's only industry of note is, the Wall Street, the financial industry, the banksters. What is California providing to the country? California is providing Silicon Valley, which is actually being steadily chased out due to high taxes, and Hollywood, which is nothing but filth and degeneracy. The actual industries that this country needs to survive, production of food, production of manufacturing and goods, stuff that's tangible and people need and that is actually sold in the world market, comes from red states. They should, the economic tax code, the economic planning of this country should be shifted to benefit the productive people and to punish the unproductive people, which is what this tax bill does in a limited way.
And also, people in states that have relatively under control government shouldn't have to subsidize people whose government spend like drunken sailors. Look, you want a big, massive fucking, big brother state. Well, you got to pay for it.
Yeah, and I should also mention, if people in blue states don't like this, they do have a recourse. They can, when their state governments are up for re-election, vote in politicians who will lower their tax burden. Like, that's going to happen.
Something I would like to see added to one of these bills, and if maybe it's a bit pie in the sky, but I'd like to see the child tax credit applied only to married couples.
That would be beautiful.
That would be so wonderful, man. Holy shit, would that do a world of good.
I also think that the tax credit for adopting a child should be abolished. Because it encourages vanity adoption, as you see in Hollywood, as well as all the, this is popular among, conservative Christians, adopting third world babies. That shit should be ended, okay? You want to have a kid and you have the ability to have a kid on your own without adopting, the tax code should encourage that and discourage other kinds of behavior. You shouldn't be allowed to adopt unless you're genetically, physiologically incapable of having children in a two parent household.
I would abolish it for overseas adoptions, because those are the ones that really strike me as virtue signaling and just nonsense. I don't think I'd abolish it for the entire I mean, look, ideally, I'd abolish every fucking write-off period. I mean, ideally, we'd have some for up to me, we'd have some sort of fucking flat tax, and that'd be the end of it. Either an income or a sales tax, and honestly, I'd prefer sales tax, but one or the other, not both. I mean, if this country was healthy and functional, federal, state, and local taxes combined would never exceed 10%. But obviously, that's a ways off. See, unlike a lot of other relatively small government, libertarian-minded people, I can accept what I'd like to see things be, and I'm also understanding of incremental steps. Like, I've heard libertarians argue that, oh, this is not good because you should just get rid of all the tax. It's like, dude, you don't get there overnight.
You take your victories where you can get them.
If there's one thing I've noticed with a lot of right-wingers, especially the, I guess, alt-right in the broadest sense, dissident right, not mainstream right types, it's that they often have a lot of high-minded ideas and they have no fucking concept. They put literally no thought into how to get from A to B. I mean, you'll hear like ANCAPs will run their mouth about how this would be how society would be structured, and it's like, okay, how you gonna get there? I don't know. And same with monarchists, same with fucking Nat socks, whole 9 yards. It's like, this is how it should be. All right, how are we gonna get there?
The underpants gnome theory of world conquest.
Yeah, they have the underpants gnome theory of political activism. Step 1, shit post on Twitter. Step 3, monarchy.
Well, you're seeing a lot of that with the alt-right now, and they're whining about how Trump is cooked because he hasn't, he isn't loading Jews up into cattle cars within year one of taking office. We're having victories right now, and if you want more victories, the way you get them is by getting more politically engaged, not less. It's by getting involved in your local GOP as a volunteer. It's by boosting nationalist candidates for office. It's by possibly running for office yourself for the school board, or if you live in a village or a town, run for town supervisor or something. The victories that we've had in the past couple of years are due in part to the Tea Party being able to build the infrastructure by which the GOP could get victories starting in 2009. That infrastructure is starting to be neglected now because you've got all these idiots who thought that Daddy Trump would take care of everything. You've got all these black-pilled alt-righters who are just like, yeah, Trump is cucked, he's a Jewish puppet, yeah. Trump was not supposed to be the end of turning this country around. He's just the beginning. If you can't see it all the way through the end, then frankly, you deserve to live under a leftist tyranny.
Yeah,
if you're just going to give up less than a year into Trump's first term as president.
Yeah, all that stuff about Emperor Trump and he's going to decorate our new wall with Hillary Clinton's skull. Like, that was joking. He's not going to do that. I'd be fine if he did. I'm not going to argue if he did, but that's not going to happen, all right? This is a step in the right direction. And also, Reagan pushed a massive tax reform / cut in his first year in office, and he saw the greatest re-election landslide in the nation's history.
Yes.
On the Electoral College. So now, while I don't think we're going to ever see a map that red again, thanks to fucking immigration, people need to be, look, if you want to see things turn around, even if you're like, I don't care about tax cuts, I want to see the wall, and I want to, well, fine. But this is the first thing he got done. It was a good thing. And a lot of people are being gaslit into thinking it's not. And you need to red pill them motherfuckers, so to speak. You need to explain to them, like, no, your taxes are going to go down. Like, no, everybody's basically benefiting from this.
I think just a ton of them are just whiny, basically leftists pretending to be. It's like Common Phil said nearly a year ago. The alt-right are just racist liberals, which is evident when you see them whining about corporate tax cuts like a bunch of pigos. Yeah, corporate tax cuts. Oh, how horrible. Free enterprise.
Yeah, look, I'm not a big fan of a lot of these big corporations and the shit they push. But at the same time, I am a big fan of, prosperity. I mean, that's kind of a nice thing. I thought we all agreed on that, but
Yeah, and I should mention something else too. For everyone who's claiming that the Trump has completely caved to the GOP agenda and that America first and make America great again are dead, the EU is actually protesting the tax reform bill because they say it's too protectionist and that it gives too many bonuses to American business and American manufacturing.
I think it was AT&T that actually, as soon as this bill was passed, gave all their employees like $1,000 Christmas bonus.
Oh yeah. Change is happening. It's slow and it's maybe a bit too slow for the ADHD-addled minds of some young kids, but it's happening. Just be fucking patient and do your part to help bring that change along. And doing your part doesn't equate to going on Gab or Twitter and whining about how Trump is a cuck.
If on Gab, I follow Ricky Vaughn, I think it is.
Yeah,
and he's been talking a lot about what political activism, what do you do, how do you do it, that kind of stuff. And I mean, he gets attacked by these idiots. Oh, you're being a cuck and stuff like that. And like you hear him attacking them, and you're thinking like, do these people just not want to win? Do they just like being fringe that much?
They don't want to win. They enjoy being fringe. You actually have people claiming that they would have been better off with a Hillary victory.
Well, that's fucking retarded. I mean, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure a Hillary victory looks something like, some sort of cyberpunk dystopia minus the cool parts.
Yes.
Like, I mean, we're, it's like, it'd be cyberpunk minus the sex robots and no Spider-Man 2099 swinging around. Just all the depressing, sad parts of it. Actually, yeah. I think 2 years tops into a Hillary presidency, we'd have full-on civil war.
Oh yeah, basically. And people refuse to absolutely look on the good side of things. Like, for example, the wall is getting built. They're actually designing schematics on how to most efficiently lay the border wall out across the southern border. All this good stuff is happening, and all these people just can't. They can't see the good side of it. They can't see the good side of anything.
Yeah, I mean, the only real defeat, I mean, yeah, there was the Virginia election, which nobody was surprised by. But Roy Moore losing is the only real defeat we've had since Trump. Yes. And, I mean, that was stolen. That was absolutely stolen. Roy Moore is fighting it. Arguably, he might do more good exposing electoral fraud than as a senator. And, I mean, look, I said on here numerous times throughout the Roy Moore special election, I don't like Roy Moore. I never have. I've said that numerous times. I think he's an arrogant piece of shit, among other things. I think he thinks he's a lot smarter than he is and couldn't take any good advice throughout this fucking election. He mishandled things. He wasn't that good of a candidate. And, Trump won because he won by enough that they couldn't steal it. Trump won more than we're told. Roy Moore was close, and they stole it. But it shouldn't have been close. Yeah, I know the media attacked him unfairly, and okay, fine. But, Roy Moore's been doing this for a long time. He knows what the media is. Yeah, it's shitty what they did to him. But he knew it was coming. He knew what the fuck was going to happen to him.
Yes.
And it's like when people complain about like Charlottesville, like, oh, it was a trap. It's like, yeah, it was a trap. But how did you not see it?
Some people don't want to see it.
I mean, I wasn't even involved, and I kind of knew it was going to be.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'm really unhappy with what Trump has done that I'm really unhappy about, as opposed to stuff that I don't really like but don't really care about, is him commuting Shalom Rubashkin's sentence. Now that's completely unjustifiable. Did you hear about this, Bechtloff? Basically, Shalom Rubashkin was the CEO of Agri-Processors, which was this kosher meat processing factory in Postville, Iowa. basically the Chabad Lubavitch Jewish sect just set up shop in this town and imported a shit ton of illegal Mexicans to work in their meat processing factories, and they also treated the local the Gentiles, the goys, like utter shit. If you read Stephen Bloom's book, Postville, A Clash of Cultures in Heartland America, you can see basically he actually this guy is like a liberal Jew, and he had heard the stories of how the people in Postville were supposedly anti-Semitic. So he went out there to investigate. He was like, "Yeah, these people have every right to be pissed off at the Jews. The Jews here are acting like total assholes." Well, anyway, this guy Shalom Rabashkin, agriprocessors was shut down about 10 years ago for violating immigration law and a bunch of other shit, financial dealings. Shalom Rabashkin got 27 years in prison because he was convicted on 86 counts of wire fraud and other things. Trump commuted his sentence because, well, Jews. And I don't like it because, well, this guy Shalom Rabashkin, even the most anti-Semitic like alt-righter could not have invented this guy. He is like this a complete walking stereotype of everything people hate about Jews. He deserved to rot in prison for the rest of his life. He should not have had his sentence commuted at all. Frankly, I'd have been tempted to give him the death penalty given what he did, but that wasn't an option. But that's really the only thing that Trump has done that I don't like.
Yeah, even the Syria thing, which at first I was like, this is a fucking disaster. You're flirting with World War III here. Even that, he lobbed a couple of missiles at an abandoned airfield to shut up the neocons and moved on. We didn't end up with a war. Yeah, and I don't think he even should have done that, if I'm being honest with you. But okay, I can kind of see it as a decent strategic move, and then we moved on.
Yeah, nothing came of it. Assad is still in power. ISIS is being mopped up. It didn't do anything in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. I'm happy with him as president. This is the first time. It's kind of a weird thing for me. In all the times I've been involved in politics, it's the first time I've ever really supported a candidate. Really supported a candidate who won. I was a Ron Paul guy back in the day,
Oh yeah.
I think I voted Libertarian in 2004.
In the first year I was eligible to vote in 2006, I voted Democratic mostly out of protest of Bush.
I was actually less than a year too young to vote for the 2000 election, but I actually donated money to the Libertarian candidate Harry Brown at the time. So yeah, I've never exactly backed the guy who ended up winning. Somebody in the chat says, "Why the fuck am I awake?" I don't know. I'm awake because, I have a few days off. I work third generally, so my sleeping schedule's all over the fucking place. Like last night, I was up, or not last night, Thursday night and a Friday morning. I was up all night, and I crashed. Like at 7 o'clock, I'm like, I gotta take a little nap, and I ended up sleeping till like 4 in the afternoon. The little nap didn't pan out, and then when it was like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock or something, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to be sleeping all day on my days off. Fuck it. I'm going to force myself to go to bed. So I went to bed, and I ended up waking up at like 4:30, just wide awake. Like, it's so weird being like wide awake, waking up early in the morning for me, because I am not a morning guy. So it's like, went to the gas station, got a donut and a soda for breakfast. Breakfast of champions right there.
Yeah. Stay woke, palpitation fuel.
Yep.
Well, I've been doing the same thing basically, which is part of the reason why I'm even available right now. My job has been forcing me to basically stay up until 5 or 6 in the morning most of the year, but I have a new job now that basically lets me set my own hours. So I've been going to bed around midnight and trying to wake up around 10 o'clock at the latest. I'm more productive in the morning. Whenever this has actually been scientifically proven. If you sleep during the hours of, I think, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., you'll actually feel more well-rested than if you sleep at any other point of the day. Because that's when the body is, that's when humans are designed to be asleep. That's when you're in tune with your circadian rhythm. And I feel it myself. Whenever I wake up in, around 8 or 9 or 10, I always feel more well-rested and more alert than when I wake up at, say, noon or 1 or 2, or even if I get a full night of sleep, I still feel kind of brain foggy. And that translates into the rest of the day. This morning I woke up and I got a ton of work done and all of that. Whereas whenever I was waking up at 3 in the afternoon to work at my job, I was just like, whatever. I would waste a ton of time playing video games or fucking around on the internet or whatever.
Yeah, I've always worked second shift, primarily in my adult years. But the thing I've always loved about second shift, though, is that it really is the one shift where I get a decent amount of sleep, where I can actually get, dare I say it, 8 hours. I mean, on third shift, like I go to bed like 9, 10. I'm usually asleep by, but I end up waking up at like 3. Yeah, I end up getting like 5, 6 hours sleep, and it's just because you don't want to sleep all fucking day, the sun's out and shit like that. I mean,
yeah,
my one apartment, I actually had to like jury rig, like, because I was working third shift for a while there. I had to like jury rig like bed sheets up against the window and shit to block out as much light as I could to try and get myself on that schedule. And in first shift, I always stay up too late. Like every night when I'm on first shift, it's like, the alarm goes off, you're tired as fuck. You think, man, I am going to like crash as soon as I'm done work. And then you get home and next thing you know, you're up till fucking midnight.
yeah.
Let's see. Nothing really going on in the chat here. I'm going to do a Christmas Eve show. I'm thinking probably around 9. And nothing really, no real big deal. Just kind of bullshitting about the holidays. And I know a lot of people, you're visiting family and stuff, and Lord knows that can be exhausting depending on who exactly is in your family. So, it should be a nice little distraction for people. Because I always found it, like, it always struck me as kind of weird that, like, when I was a kid, there was all the shows would go into reruns and there'd be basically nothing on TV and all. But it's like everybody's home. You know what I mean? Everybody's. It always struck me as weird. Like there was a lot of time in certain holidays where it's like there's just nothing to do. I remember as a kid. Like yeah, Christmas is different because you got a bunch of shit. You know what I mean? You got like a new video game or some toys or something. But like New Year's, I used to hate. Even as an adult, New Year's is so fucking boring. Like nothing's open. I'm not much of a quote unquote party guy. I never have been. I'm not even much of a drinker. So just going out and getting shit faced on New Year's Eve, not something that really appeals to me. And it's like New Year's Day. What the fuck do you do?
But New Year's Eve is a total amateur drinking night. Now, there are 2 nights of the year that you don't go out. The first is the day before Thanksgiving, and the second is New Year's Eve, because that's when the bars are absolutely full of people who are vomiting everywhere and just stinking it up for everyone.
Yeah. And there's not like New Year's Day. I mean, okay, I get people are sleeping off hangovers and shit like that, but I don't get what most people do during the day. I mean, by noon you should be up, no matter how much you were fucking drinking the next day. Get your dead ass up. What are you doing? Here in PA, it's a German tradition. People eat pork and sauerkraut on New Year's Day for dinner for some reason. I don't particularly like pork at all, and I'm indifferent to sauerkraut, so that's nothing that's up my alley. Yeah, I always hated New Year's. As a kid, I always found it boring as shit. Like, yeah, you're off school, but it's like there's nothing to do and nothing's open. And I used to just work it a lot when various jobs. Like I'd volunteer to come in and work, get double time, shit like that. I might do a New Year's Eve stream. I don't know. It depends on what kind of hours I'll be working in. Because honestly, if the job I'm at wants me to work New Year's and New Year's Day, I'll just do it. I don't care. Um, let's see what's going on in the chat here. Um, so much Bechtloff today. Third show I've watched today. Yeah, I did 2 last night. So um,
It's a Christmas miracle.
I prefer morning shift. It gives me the afternoon and evening to myself. Um, I I'm most productive in the afternoon and evening, to be honest. So I kind of prefer night shift. And I know it's not being home in the in the afternoon and all, it sucks. You don't see people during the week, but whatever. I'll see them on the weekends. I never get enough sleep on there. The last job I was there for 5 years, and like the first year I think it was, or maybe like 6 months, I was there. I worked 7 to 3:30, and that was way too fucking early for my taste. They finally bumped me down to 9 to 5:30, which I greatly preferred. And even that was, there were mornings that alarm clock went off, and I'm like, fucking really? Because those nights right before work where it's like, maybe you're up just a little bit later than you should. Okay, you get to bed, right? Or maybe even get to bed at a decent time, but you just can't sleep. And then the longer you can't sleep, the more you get stressed out about it. Like you're just laying there, and then you look at the clock and it's like super late, and that gets you all stressed out. You're like, fuck, man, I'm going to be a wreck in the morning. Which means that now you're really not getting to sleep. Let's see. So he says, fuck New Year's Eve. It means nothing. It's as useless as a single mom with 7 baby daddies. Yeah, I never gave a shit about New Year's Eve. And if anything, I remember as a kid, it was always kind of sad because it was like the end of Christmas vacation. As a kid, your school was off for that week between Christmas and New Year's kind of thing. So it was like, Christmas, it's like New Year's Eve. You're like, oh man, there's only one day left in my vacation. Let's see. I'm proud that most of the EE countries abstained from the UN's vote condemning U.S. decision to move the embassy to Jerusalem. Huh. I didn't even know the UN was voting to do that. I don't know how I feel about the Jerusalem thing. On the one hand, it's like, okay, if that's what Israel says its capital is, I mean, then that's what its capital is, I guess. They're a sovereign nation. I think you get to determine what the fuck your capital is. But at the same time, it's like, it just feels like more fucking Jewish pandering. Let's see. What's going on here? Think about an hour. Yeah, 45 minutes. That's good enough. I think I'm gonna wrap this up. I mostly want to talk about that fucking CNN article because, wow, that was delightful. Dumb. So if you enjoy the show, check out the sponsor, Aaron Clary Books. Probably too late to vote to order anything for Christmas, but still, I don't know. Maybe you'll have relatives that you don't see until a little after Christmas. Also, you can check out the PayPal and the Patreon where you can support this program, either a one-time donation through PayPal or be a regular contributor on the Patreon. Man, I have not been able to talk at all this morning. I sound like a fucking retard. All right, well, Forney, thanks for joining me, and
no problem.
That's all we got for today, folks. Bechtloff out.